Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi at-tahirin. Today we are on lesson 18 of our Ilm al-Akhlaq, and will be our final lesson of this Akhlaq series. And we will talk about one more vice that is a very big hurdle in spiritual improvement, in moral development, in working towards the akhirah, in gaining loftier levels of awareness of Allah the Exalted. So today's lesson is about ghafla. Ghafla is a lack of attention and maybe indifference and maybe an indifference. So being ghafil, the one who is heedless, is the one who is having lack of attention, and this one could be indifference. It could be also indifference as well. So when somebody lacks attention, they need just a little shake and then they may wake up. They may need just a little bit of shaking, and then they will be aware. So ghafla is lack of attention or heedlessness. It is the opposite of attention. So it's the opposite of attention. Being aware, having attention towards something. So one who is heedless is lacking attention. And one who has awareness, attention to something is opposite of ghafla. If we are neglecting our purpose in this, our human creation, if we're neglecting our purpose, that is the purpose of human creation, which can be said to be to obtain the mercy of Allah the Exalted, then that is a vice, where we're neglecting the purpose of our creation, the purpose of life. One of the biggest things that people can think of is, for what purpose was I created? If we're neglecting that purpose, then this is a vice. This is ghafla. Where we have neglect and indifference to the evil and wickedness in ourselves, in the sense of not doing them, then that's a virtue. So when we're talking about ghafla, again, we can maybe understand it in two conceptions. Maybe we could understand that there is ghafla, which is mujiba, and ghafla, which is saliba. There is positive ghafla, negative ghafla. So being neglectful towards the want to do wickedness, that's a virtue. Not being neglectful to our own wickedness, in the sense that we have a vice and we're in self-denial or ignorance of our own vices and our evil deeds, no. But to be negligent of doing them, so that you do not act upon those evil intentions, those evil plans, those evil desires. Hence, when care and attention is given to the things having to do with our well-being, with human well-being and felicity. This is a virtue. Now, Mullah Naraki, he says, usually in the Hadith and the Quran, the term is used to refer to ghafl. It's used to refer to heedlessness, to the real aims of human existence, to the real aims of human existence and mankind's well-being and happiness in dunya wal akhirah. In dunya and akhirah, in the here and the hereafter. So we have in the Holy Quran, we have in Surah 7, ayat. So this noble ayat in the Holy Quran, وَلَقَدْ ذَرَانَا لِجَهَنَّمَ كَثِيرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ بِهَا وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ بِهَا وَلَهُمْ آذَانٌ لَا يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا أُولَئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ أُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْغَافِلُونَ. These are al-ghafilun, the heedless ones. So in this noble ayat of the Holy Quran, and certainly we have created for li jahannama kathiran min al jinni wal ins. We have created for the hell many jinn and mankind. Lahum kulubun la yafkahuna biha. They have hearts with which they do not understand. Wallahum ayunun la yubsiruna biha. Then they have eyes with which they do not see. Wallahum adhanun la yasma'una biha. And they have ears with which they don't hear. Ulaika kal anami balhum adalu. Balhum adalu. They are like cattle. They're like cattle. Nay, they are more astray, more deviated. Ulaika humul ghafilun. These, they are the heedless ones. These people are the heedless ones. Notice in this noble ayat of the Holy Quran, what's three things that are being called attention to that we could point out first. First, their hearts, kulubun, lahum kulubun, their hearts. What is their hearts not doing? La yafkahuna biha. They're not understanding. Their eyes, la yabsiruna biha. They're not seeing. Their ears, la yasma'una biha. They're not listening. Your heart, your heart, your eyes, and your ears are not accepting. They're not on. Your heart's not understanding, and your eyes and your ears are not taking. They are like cattle. Remember we brought the hadith earlier about mankind can be better than the animals and or the angels. They're like cattle. No, they are worst astray. Balhum adalu. They are more astray. Why? Ulaika hum ghafilun. They are the heedless ones. Therefore, ghafla is when we are heedless and unaware of the purpose of life. There could be different levels of ghafla, yeah? Maybe we're unaware of the most important purposes and within the purpose of life. They were heedless of certain aspects of the purpose of life. And the depth of one's ghafla will differ. So we could say that there's different darajat, there's different levels of heedlessness. Some people are only slumbering, like a quick closing their eyes and still having a little bit of attention to what's going on around them. They're not completely asleep. They're just slumbering. Some people's ghafla is like that. They're just in a slumber. And others, they are like as if they are in a deep, they are as if like they are in a deep, deep sleep. A deep sleep of heedlessness. And they must wake up before it's too late. They look like they are awake in this dunya. They look like they are awake in this world, walking about and moving around, being active. But in reality, really, they are asleep. They are al-ghafilun. And they will feel the pain after they separate from this temporal, vanishing abode. This person who is heedless, who is ghafil, he or she forgets the journey they are on. He or she forgets to prepare for what is ahead. Ghafla is when we are heedless and unaware of the purpose of life. And how deep that ghafla will be, that will differ. How deep it will be in a person, that will differ amongst people. So how can one diagnose themselves or others as being ghafil, as being heedless? What are some ways to diagnose oneself or others of having this vice? Now, these are just some signs. There may be other signs, but some signs, some symptoms that you may realize that may indicate that you are sick with the malady of heedlessness. So two signs may be considered over here. The first is when you are more upset over losses in dunya than your losses in the hereafter. You're more depressed, sad, angry at what you lose in dunya than what you lost in your eternal abode. Here, are you motivated for the hereafter or motivated only for dunya? Are you motivated for akhirah or not? Because your upsetness indicates your motivation, your care, that it was for dunya, and you didn't care too much for the hereafter. So ask yourself here, are you motivated for the hereafter or not? Motivate yourself for the hereafter. This world is temporal, vanishing. You're leaving it. You're on your way out the door. There's no stopping from you leaving it. It's not wise to not prepare. So that is the first symptom that may indicate a person is ghafil. The second is Salatul Layl. Salatul Layl is a recommended prayer. And there's some special rules around it in the fiqh books. And you go to your marja and see. So this is considered as an important prayer in spiritual wayfaring, in irfan. Yes, it's not wajib, but it's considered as an important ibadah. So here, if a person doesn't even care about Salatul Layl, again, this kind of ties back. They don't care about motivated for extra things. So this is a sign, not that anyone who neglects Salatul Layl is ghafil, but it just could be a indicator. So what are the causes of ghafla? What are the causes of this vice of heedlessness? The first cause for this vice that we can mention here is hubbat dunya, love of this world, love of dunya. When a person loves someone or something, they may not see except what you love. When a person is deeply in love, they may not see except the beloved. They may not see except what they love. And dunya may in this manner intoxicate a person's soul. It may make them intoxicated with its dunya. So in this way, dunya may end up intoxicating a person's soul. Although dunya is not evil in itself, rather what's the problem is our distraction and attachment that is problematic for us. Dunya can be used as a means to get closer to Allah, to succeed in the test. So if dunya is distracting us from our main purpose, the purpose of human creation, then dunya may blind you, may drunken you, and you may forget all about the hereafter. You may forget all about the akhirah. You may become ghafil. So this dunya love, this intoxication of dunya may overcome you, and you will become heedless. And you will fall into a deep, deep sleep of ghafla. Ya ayyuha ladhina amanu la tulhikum amwalakum wala awladukum an dhikri Allah wa man yaf'al fa ulaika humu al-khasirun. O you who believe, Ya ayyuha ladhina amanu la tulhikum amwalukum, let not your wealth, wala awladukum, let not your wealth or your children divert you an dhikri Allah, from the remembrance of Allah. And whosoever does that, these are al-khasirun. These are the losers. These are those who are the losers. Surah 63, Ayat 9. So that is the first cause of ghafla, love of dunya. Dunya needs to be in its right place. The second cause is a lack of realization of the purpose of life. A lack of realizing the purpose of creation. The lack of realizing the purpose of human life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us and gave us aql, intellect. Allah the Exalted did not do this in vain. The more we may think about this, the more we may wake up, the more we may become attentive. Allah did not create all of this, give us this opportunity, put us through this test, this beautiful masterpiece of creation that all mankind together couldn't come up with. He did not do this in vain. There is purpose to our creation. So the more we may think about this, the more we may wake up. The more we may wake up from our deep sleep or our slumber. The third cause for ghafla is the sins. The more and more we commit sins, the more we darken and tarnish ourselves. The more a person sins, the more they will put barriers and tarnish themselves. And the deeper we would go into a sleep of ghafla. Sins, they prevent us from traveling properly through life. They prevent us from traveling and reaching the proper felicity up to the true actualization of our potential. So what must we do? Well, we must work on becoming sinless. Yes, Allah the Exalted has the door of tawbah open to us. So we must do tawbah sincerely and be determined not to sin and work on improving so that we don't commit sins. Sins are barriers and they stain our hearts. So those are three causes for ghafla: love of dunya, lack of realization of the purpose of life, and the sins. Now, what about treatment? What can be said about some treatment for ghafla? The first thing that can be said is thinking, tafakkur. The more a person thinks, the more they think about what the real purpose of life is, the more one may wake up from this deep sleep of ghafla. So think about the real purpose of life. Think where you are going. Think what is going on around you. The second thing is facing problems. Facing problems and suffering. This may treat the ghafla. Such things may be a reason for us to turn to Allah the Exalted and wake us up from our sleep of ghafla. Realize we have been asleep to this aim. When we are helpless, we call out to Allah the Exalted as if we were a sailor who went on a ship with his shipmates, and a storm overcame them, and the ship became shipwrecked. It sunk, broke apart, and his sailor was left in the sea among the waves, clinging to a board, his hands slipping away, as he slowly moved into the depths of the sea, in his heart, he will feel a call and a hope out to the only one who you could hope in. He will call with hope for help. Deep inside of us, we would call out to Allah the Exalted. Just like a sailor who is in a shipwreck. فَإِذَا رَكِبُوا فِي الْفُلْكِ دَعَاءُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ فَلَمَّا نَجَّاهُمْ إِلَى الْبَرِّ إِذَا هُمْ يُشْرِكُونَ. Say, when they ride in the ships, they call upon Allah, being sincerely obedient to Him. But when He brings them safe to land, they associate others. They do shirk. Surah 29:65. Now look at our situation today. They lack calling out to Allah the Exalted. Some people convince themselves, saying they're too sinful. Allah tells us in the Quran, call upon me and I will answer. Allah indicates to us. The Ahlul Bayt told us that dua is an act of worship to Allah. So pay attention to it. About calling out to Allah, it's very important things to consider. Call out to Allah. Allah is the only one who can really help us. Realize that. And we need Allah's help sincerely. So, treatment level, practical steps, some practical recommendations to treat this malady. Practical steps, remembering death. Remembering death should make us realize that this dunya is not worth it, that this dunya is temporal, and that we are leaving this dunya, and there is a hereafter. So how can you remember death? Well, you could make some time and you could visit graveyards. Visit your loved ones in the graveyards, or visit graveyards and remember death that way. Remember, you are going there just like them. One day your body will be under the ground. One day your name will be forgotten on those plaques. People will visit those graveyards perhaps, and they won't even remember who you are. So visit the graveyards. Second thing is prepare and keep a coffin at home. The shroud that we talked about in the fiqh lessons of the burial. Keep a coffin at home and prepare it. You can look at it, once a day or something. Remember that one day you're going to be shrouded in this shroud. Second thing is that you could do to practically to try to, second thing that you could do to practically try to wake yourself up from this ghafla and heal this ghafla is pray on time. Do your salah on time. Yes, there's this time where it's not haram, of course. It's this common time that you could pray it. But pray on time. Pray at the earlier time. Pray during the fudila time. Pay attention to it. Of course, don't leave it till after the time completely, because that is forbidden to leave it outside of the time. You have to pray it within the time. So pray it on time. So I would note here that one should understand what they are saying in salah as well. So try to pay attention to what you're saying in salah. Try to say it sincerely. Pay attention in salah. Be sincere in it. Prayer breaks routine and should remind us of Allah the Exalted. So salah has a lot of beneficial things for us that we could be benefiting towards our journey towards getting closer to Allah and reaching felicity. The third thing is recite the Quran. Recite the Holy Quran. You can make a daily routine to say at least 10 ayats or 20 ayats or 30 or 40 or 50 ayats of the Holy Quran. Think upon those ayats, understand them, reflect on them. So recitation should be with contemplation, not mere articulation of sounds, which are never reaching the heart. So it's very important that the ayats of the Quran reach the heart, that they reach the heart. Yes, Quran recitation is beautiful and it may have some effects by hearing it and reciting it, but to use the Quran in a more perfect way, then you should contemplate on it and shouldn't just merely articulate it. You should also apply it. Fourth thing is do dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you may try, as example, you could try Tasbih Zahra, which is saying Takbir, Allahu Akbar, 34 times. Alhamdulillah, 33 times. Subhanallah, 33 times after your salah. After your salah, you could sit. It'll take only maybe a few minutes. Do Tasbih Zahra. Do it with reflection though. Do it with contemplation. Do it with sincerity. Try to grab every one of those dhikrs that you can and focus on them and understand them at a good meaning. Try to say them with sincerity. The fifth is you could visit the shrines of the Imams. Alayhum salam. This is called ziyarah. And you could do dua to Allah under those domes. You could do dua to Allah in those shrines. The sixth thing is you could attend the masjid. The seventh is to wake up at night and worship some of the time in the night. And the eighth thing, practical way, is to always intend to do good. Eventually, if you always intend, you'll eventually, inshallah, do it. So always intend to do good. So these are 8 practical things that you could do to treat the malady of ghafla. Remember death, praying on time, recite Quran, dhikr of Allah. You could do Tasbih Zahra, ziyarat to the shrines of the Imam and do dua in those shrines, attend the masjid, wake up at night and worship some, and always intend to do good. So that is everything for our Akhlaq series, and we will end these classes here. Wa akhiru dawana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.